So today is gonna be a confession video. It's gonna be one of those where I just confess something that I've never confessed on YouTube before. And honestly, a lot of homeschool channels, if this ever comes up in their lives, this is something you're not gonna hear much about. And it's something that I've actually never talked about for the exact same reason that a lot of people don't talk about it. I don't know how many times I can say it's not talked about. But it's not really talked about. But I did say, after listening to so many moms just through social media, doing evaluations, co-ops, etc., that have to make a difficult choice in their lives because of hardship, I realized this is something we need to address because there is so much shame attached to it. Now, I want to thank Yasmin from Mommy on the Move for putting this together. She inspired me. I never wanted to talk about this. Are you serious? Who wants to? She decided to put a collab together because she herself is going through this currently. She's put together a playlist. It's down in the description box below, but let me tell you this, it is not about tips. The last thing when you're going through hardship, the last thing you need is a bunch of tips thrown at you because all that's gonna do is make you feel super guilty and more of a failure. This is about people who face challenges with homeschooling, like serious challenges, and how they overcome, and maybe they didn't overcome. I don't know what the playlist entails, but it's there to encourage you so you don't feel like you're alone. As many of you know, my youngest daughter has Down syndrome. And when she was very, very young, she had open heart surgery. Leading up to that open heart surgery, even though there was medications and literally weekly doctor appointments with the cardiologists and pediatricians, and I was able to homeschool them through that time. I had my mother-in-law who helped me. I planned out actually 6 weeks where I would be able to just take it off. And I did. We did not expect Naomi to be in the hospital for a full month because there were some complications during the surgery. And they stayed at my abuela's house, which was great because I was able to stay at the hospital the entire time. But when I got home, it was just having to readjust to what life is now going to be like. It was going to be like. I was vulnerable. I was scared, confused, and I was very hormonal. That's what happens when you have a baby. It's the hormones. A lot of it is a blur. We had decided to send Hannah, which is my third child, to school. She was at an age where we needed to do a lot of hands-on, a lot of me, her kind of schoolwork. And I knew that I didn't have the time to give that to her. Of course, there's a lot of guilt attached to that. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more. But first, the reality is that when you're faced with possibly losing one of your children, you will do absolutely anything and everything possible to keep them alive, even if it means sending your child to school. And a lot of the times I was faced with some very, very, very difficult decisions. And a lot of the times I did not want to be the one to make that decision, whether it was the doctors that were making the decision or people making suggestions to me that maybe I can't handle it on my own and I do need help, because we all know, us moms, we feel like Wonder Woman, that we are able to conquer the world, and homeschooling, because a lot of us do come into the homeschool world and we're like trails blazing. A lot of us are rushing out of the school system with picket signs and, we're like gung-ho and we think that we can conquer the world, but we can't. I mean, there's only so much, there's really not much that, there's only so much that we can do. And, yeah. Do I think that I did the right thing sending her to school for a year? I don't really know at all. I don't know if it was the right thing. I don't know if it was devastating to her. I don't think it really made a difference, to be honest. I do know she has some interesting memories that she sometimes brings up here and there, but I don't think it really changed her as a person. But I did have a lot of that mom guilt. I felt like a failure. I felt like a failure because I couldn't conquer the world, because I couldn't be there for Hannah. I couldn't teach her how to read, because one of the most beautiful things that I've always enjoyed doing was teaching my kids how to read. And I was now giving that precious, precious gift or job to somebody else to do for her. And that broke my heart because I realized that I was not perfect. It's a very heartbreaking thing to realize that you're human. I mean, that's kind of very foundational for the Christian belief, is that we are not perfect, yet so many of us think that we are, and that's definitely not the case. So in a situation like this, it's very humbling to realize that you need, first and foremost, God, and He provides the people in your life to help you succeed in those areas. But I still felt like a failure. I felt separated from my daughter tremendously. I felt at times that she was not a part of my family. And that tore me to shreds. I mean, there were so many nights that she came home and all I did was sit on the couch and talk to her about things, and I would ignore everybody else because she was gone from me for those hours of the day, and somebody else was sowing the seed in her and I was not, and I just missed her so much. I was also angry. I was angry because I felt like the people who put that bug in my ear and suggested to me that maybe I should send my daughter to school felt like I failed. I had failed them by failing my kids, and I was angry at them because I was a disappointment to them. The majority of the people that told me I should just send her to school were family members and close friends. Were they right? Yeah, they were probably not the failed part, but yeah, I did need to send her to school that year. And then I felt guilty because it was a burden that I now had relief. I now had time to deal with the medical stuff in order to help my child just recover those years that she missed and thrive. So I can more focus on the medical stuff, getting her back, all that. So I was relieved of a burden. But then I felt guilty again because I'm not God. So whenever I was thankful for all the help, I felt guilty and I felt like a failure and I felt like I was disappointing people, and then I would get angry. I don't know, there's got to be some kind of like grieving or cycle that I'm just naming off because that's how I felt. So why do moms not talk about this moment? The moment when they have to decide that they have to send their child to school. Why don't we talk about this? Because of pride. There is an underlining, overwhelming sense of pride within the homeschool movement. I said it. And it goes both ways too. So you get the moms that are like gung-ho, ready to go conquer the world. They have pride because, they're going to do this better than anybody else did it. But then you get the moms, they thought that they could do it and then they didn't. And then there's all this resentment. That's pride too. And then they start lashing out at the moms that are gung-ho, and then it becomes this... the result is guilt, sadness, fear, humiliation, vulnerability, anger. I've had a couple comments on this channel. One said that one of my videos came across as I was arrogant about being a homeschool mom and that I was better than everybody else. And she said a bunch of stuff. But I realized that people, when they have to, because she was sharing her testimony that she had actually had to send her kids to school, and she spent so much time backing up why she decided to send her kids to school. And this is a common thing that I've seen with a lot of moms because they feel they have to justify their decision because they're thinking that the other person is in their mind putting them down. And there's like this insecurity, this jealousy. Anyway, the point is I realized that she was hurting and she was feeling all these emotions inside. I've also done lots of portfolio evaluations, and parents come to me and they're like, I'm sending my kids to school next year, and they write me out, not write me, but verbally list a laundry list of reasons why, trying to justify themselves. There's nothing to prove. There is a place for public school or private school. It's needed in our society. There are so many kids that if they didn't have public or private school, they wouldn't have the possibilities. It's opened up a whole new realm for a lot of these kids that may not have a future in certain fields. It's also there as a place of refuge. It's there for those of us that may be in a hardship in our lives where, there may be a loved one that passed away, a spouse, or illnesses where we physically have to send our child to public school and we have no choice. It's there to help. If God calls you to homeschool, even if it's for a season, because none of us know what's going to happen in the future, there's nothing to be ashamed of doing that. And you may have to do that. We have to be ready for that. We can't take so much pride in ourselves and homeschooling that we sometimes think that nothing can stop us. A lot of stuff can stop us, and it's okay to admit that. Now, as a homeschool mom, when I come across a mom where she's going through that, I can't be ashamed of the fact that we had to do it too, but also understanding that we don't know the whole full story of the person that we're talking to, that there's hardships that we've never experienced, and it's not like that person took it lightly when they made that choice. But a lot of us don't realize that we can be broken very quickly. And when people are going through those hardships, we need to have empathy for them. And if we don't have empathy for them, we've got some serious problems. I mean, the Bible does say, like, love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. So it wasn't until I was able to fully embrace her school that we had sent her to. I mean, honestly, they were a blessing from God. They were a private school that just embraced her for the year. Her teacher was great, and she felt a lot of love there, and she was taken care of. And they actually used the Abeka curriculum, which I was fine with it. It was cool. It's a good curriculum, and it will get you through it. But when I was able to embrace the fact that this is what God had planned for my life, including the brokenness, I was able to overcome a lot of those guilt, frustration, anger, jealousy, bitterness, all those feelings, negative feelings, bad feelings. Do they still sneak in? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I do feel guilty when I think about it. I would have loved to help teach her some of those beginning things, but then I know that I needed it, and I also, it was kind of nice. Actually, when I think about it now, it was actually really nice. But I also think that me and her are a lot closer because of that year. We were able to bond and do girly stuff that, I don't know, we probably wouldn't have done if she wasn't in school. I probably would have been a lot more stressed out, and we would have, like, maybe butted heads a little bit more. I don't know. My sister-in-law, which I hope she doesn't mind me talking about her, she had to send her kids to school. She was planning on homeschooling one, but she sent the other one, and she needed to go to school. There was a lot of emotional stuff, and it was before the incident with Naomi, and so I had said some stuff that I deeply, deeply regret because I didn't understand the situation to its fullness. But I think that's how we all need to be whenever we approach someone that is going to have to send their kids back to public school or school. They're in a season in their life where that is the best thing for them, and this is no surprise for God. This was totally planned. I know some amazing people, including my sister-in-law, who had to send their kids to school because that's the way their kids were created. I mean, it's almost like you have to just open your ears and go with what you feel like your calling is. I did want to make this video just to share this with you guys, just to encourage you. It's okay to admit that homeschooling is really, really hard, especially through hardships. So that's my testimony. Feel free to check out the playlist and leave me a comment below. Share with me some of your stories. Share with the others that read these comments your stories. Let's make this a place where we can just kind of, those of you that watch this video and you need more encouragement, you just now have a resource of it. You have the playlist, you have the comment section. You guys, not failures. It's called life. But thank you guys for watching till the end of the video. I will definitely leave one of the squares up here will be of my daughter and when we did have heart surgery if you want to hear more about that. And until then, I will see you in our next video. Bye.